What if the one thing you've chased your entire life, her smile, her nod, her whisper of "you're enough," was never meant to save you but to unravel you? Imagine this. You're sitting across from her, the woman whose laughter feels like sunlight piercing a storm. Her eyes meet yours, and for a fleeting moment you feel whole. Your chest swells, your breath steadies. You're finally enough. But what happens when that moment fades? When her gaze shifts and the warmth you clung to turns cold, leaving you grasping for a shadow you can't hold? You thought her validation was your redemption, but what if it's your ruin? Here on Dark Psyphoria, we peel back the layers of the human psyche to uncover truths you've felt but never named. Today we're diving into a craving so primal, so insidious, that it's shaped generations of men: the need for female validation. Immanuel Kant, a philosopher of cold precision, saw through this illusion centuries ago, exposing a truth that cuts deeper than any rejection. Your worth isn't in her eyes, but in your own. Will you keep chasing her approval, or will you dare to face yourself? Which path will you take? Dependency or sovereignty? If this speaks to something deep inside you, come along for the ride. Your support means everything. Hit subscribe and let's explore these raw, unfiltered truths together. The air grows heavy as we step into the shadows of your longing, where the ache for her gaze reveals a deeper truth about who you've become and who you could be. The story begins in a quiet moment of your past. You thought her smile meant something. The way she leaned in, her laughter wrapping around your words like a warm embrace, her fingertips brushing your arm. It felt like proof. Proof that you were finally enough, that you mattered. But feel the weight of that moment in your chest. Your breath shortens, your hands tremble slightly, waiting for her next reaction. You're not naive, you're starving. Starving for validation, not from the world, but from her. The woman who, in your mind, doesn't just admire you, she defines you. Somewhere deep in your childhood, maybe a memory of your mother's distant approval, or the fairy tales that promised a princess would crown your worth. You were taught that being chosen by a woman is the ultimate stamp of manhood. Her love, you believed, could redeem the parts of you too afraid to face alone. But what if that belief isn't love? What if it's a lie cloaked in centuries of philosophical camouflage? Immanuel Kant, with his unrelenting logic, saw through this long before you felt its ache. He didn't speak of romance, he spoke of design. Kant believed women were not meant for philosophy, not because they lacked capacity, but because nature shaped them for beauty, not reason. He wrote that a woman's pursuit of knowledge would rob her of grace, that a scholarly woman was a contradiction. Now pause. Why does her admiration feel more vital than her understanding? Why does her rejection erase you while her attention feels like redemption? Is it because you've been conditioned to see her as your mirror, reflecting your worth, rather than your equal, challenging your mind? The room grows quiet, the silence loud enough to hear your own heartbeat as Kant's words echo through the centuries, revealing a truth you've felt but never named. Kant didn't hate women. He measured them with logic, not sentiment. He saw beauty, not intelligence, form, not reason. He believed women guide morality not through principle, but through charm. She doesn't convince you with arguments. She compels you with her presence. Her gaze becomes your moral compass, her nod your absolution. You strive to be better, not because she understands your ethics, but because you want to be worthy in her eyes. And in that pursuit, you think you're in love. But are you? Or are you just trying to be enough? Feel that truth settle into your bones. The air grows heavy, the silence in the room a weight you can't ignore. Every compliment you've worked for, every smile you've earned. Does it feel real or hollow? If she's not admiring who you truly are, but the version of you that you perform to be, what are you building? A relationship or a mask? Kant revealed this with surgical precision. Men act from duty, women from feeling. Her kindness is strategy, her silence observation, her validation a quiet power, not through domination but through direction. She doesn't need to lead you, she just needs you to need her approval. And once you do, the leash is invisible. You hold it yourself, tightening it with every moment you adjust who you are to keep her smiling. Have you felt this? That moment when you softened your edges, silenced your anger, or reshaped your dreams just to see her eyes light up? What did you lose in that moment? The question lingers like a shadow as we step deeper into the trap Kant uncovered. A trap not of her making, but of yours. Kant saw women as moral symbols, not moral agents. He believed their virtue wasn't in understanding what is right, but in embodying it. An emotional guide, a beacon of goodness through presence, not logic. And here's the trap. When someone becomes a symbol, they become untouchable. You don't question a symbol. You worship it. And that's what you've done. You've mistaken her kindness for character, her attention for wisdom, her presence for permission to exist. You've built your worth on her gaze not because she demanded it, but because you never learned to face yourself without it. Every time you twist yourself to keep her interested, every time you suppress your truth to seem more understanding, every time you build, buy, or bleed to earn her affection, you're not being strong. You're being conditioned. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You've been living this fate, shaped by a myth that says she is your moral guide, but never your moral peer. Kant argued that a woman's education should be of manners, not thought, of elegance, not ethics. Because the moment she thinks like you, she becomes less desirable in the role you've cast her in. And deep down, that fear lingers. If she truly saw you, not the polished version, but the chaos beneath, would she still choose you? So you play the game. You become the man who earns her smile, shrinking the parts of yourself that don't fit the frame she was taught to admire. The room feels darker now, the light of her approval dimming, leaving you with the shadow of who you could have been. What would you do if you stopped performing for her gaze? The question hangs in the air, a quiet invitation to see beyond the illusion. You thought you were choosing her. Every time you opened up, softened, adjusted yourself to fit her expectations, you believed you were in control. But now, in the stillness of this moment, see it for what it was. Submission. Not with chains, but with need. Kant saw that need. He wrote that men are governed by principles, by abstract duty, while women navigate through taste, emotion, the immediate. Her approval feels intoxicating because it's instinctual, not rational. A look, a laugh, a nod that feels like a gift from the divine. But it's not. It's feedback, a mirror of your own hunger. She doesn't see your soul. She scans your posture, your tone, your silence, your desperation. And when she finds the place where you're starving, she feeds it just enough to keep you hoping. Not because she's cruel, but because she's playing her role too. The role Kant etched into Western thought. A woman's place is to reflect, not assert, to charm, not challenge, to inspire, not lead. So now you're both acting. You, the man trying to be enough. Her, the woman shaping herself into what you expect. Neither of you are real anymore. Your projections, masks built on centuries of philosophical roles. The tragedy deepens. She craves realness too. But she's been trained, by society, by survival, to secure her place through influence, not force, through intuition, not confrontation. She gives you what you want to feel, not always out of manipulation, but out of habit, out of design. And you drink it like water in a desert, too thirsty to ask if it's real. Friedrich Nietzsche warned, that which is done out of love always takes place beyond good and evil. But this isn't love. It's dependency masquerading as devotion. When her gaze no longer lifts you, when her silence feels like absence, when her affection feels calculated, you don't just lose her. You lose the version of yourself that only existed in her eyes. The rain outside your window taps a steady rhythm as Kant's warning cuts through the haze. He cautioned that when we place our worth in beauty, in charm, in emotional resonance rather than reason, we become slaves to the external. True autonomy lies in being rational, in being self-governed. You've confused being admired for being valuable. You say she gets me. But what if she's just skilled at sensing what makes you feel validated and using it? Her eyes don't see your essence. They see your hunger. And when she withdraws, you don't just feel rejected. You feel erased. You were taught to conquer the world, but never to sit still in your own skin. Never to stand alone, unwatched, unpraised, and still feel like a man. Now you're here with all your strength, all your success, all your so-called independence, and you're still a prisoner to her smile. You wait for her text like it's oxygen, your entire day reorienting around one compliment. You think this is love, but love doesn't beg to be seen. Love doesn't collapse when she looks away. This is something else, a quiet war inside you, between the part that wants to rise and the part that wants to be chosen. But here's the twist. What if the woman you're chasing doesn't even exist? What if she's a dream, a projection of your unhealed ache to be seen without facing yourself? The room feels colder, the truth sharper, as you sit with this question. You've outsourced your wholeness, handing her the responsibility to complete a man you never became on your own. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning of your rebirth. This is where you rise, not against her, but within yourself. Let the myth collapse. Let the story that told you her love will make you whole burn at your feet. Your shoulders drop, the air feels lighter, like stepping out of a storm into quiet sunlight. Stop chasing her smile like it's a prize, and start building a self that doesn't vanish when no one is watching. Stop asking, "What does she see in me?" and start asking, "What do I see when I look in the mirror?" Silence becomes your power. When you no longer flinch for her approval, she'll sense the shift. She might walk away or she might draw closer, not to the performance but to the presence of a man who isn't hungry for her gaze, but who sees her clearly, beyond the myth, beyond the mirror. This isn't control, it's connection, it's rare and it's real. But it only begins when the need to be validated dies. So let it die. Let the burning truth of your own reason guide you, not her reaction. The journey from dependency to sovereignty is a quiet one, but its clarity radiates like a beacon, illuminating the path to a truer self, a self that doesn't need her eyes to exist, but can stand beside her as an equal, seeing her as she truly is. Look back at that moment you thought her smile would save you. Feel the ache, the longing, the way your breath caught in your throat, waiting for her to see you. Now feel the stillness that comes with letting it go. That ache has been alchemized into clarity, that longing into sovereignty. You're no longer the man who bends for her gaze. You're the man who stands beside her, not as her redeemer or her reflection, but as an equal. A man who knows who he is can finally see her as she is, not an object of beauty, not a gatekeeper of worth, but a person. Complex, flawed, powerful. And so are you. This isn't just a story. It's a mirror of the battles fought in quiet moments, in the hearts of men like my friend James, who spent years chasing a woman's approval, only to find his own voice buried beneath her expectations. It's a reflection of the ideals we've been sold, the myths we've lived, and the real events, like the countless relationships strained by unspoken needs, that remind us of our shared humanity. Let's stop surviving our inner world and start living inside it. If this journey has stirred something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not for the algorithm, but for the soul who's still chasing the same ghost. Subscribe to Dark Psyphoria if you're ready to go deeper with us. This is Dark Psyphoria, where healing doesn't shout, it whispers through your silence. Thank you for watching. Walk your path with quiet strength.